My name is Aishe Abiltarova. I live in Bakhchisaray. My son's name is Rustem Abiltarov. I have twins, 2 boys. One is at home, and the other, on May 13th, 2016, early in the morning, at 6 a.m. they knocked on his door. He jumped up. They weren't just knocking, but banging on the door. He opened the door and found security forces, armed to the teeth, in masks, with automatic rifles. That day in Bakhchisaray, 4 houses were raided. The security forces arrived and began searching for weapons. They ransacked the house. They drove all the children and his wife into one room. This was the first group from Bakhchisaray. That's how they're called, the first 4. 4 people. I began to cry and asked where they are taking him. They said he'd be back in 2 hours, and nothing more. My son is observant. He prays namaz 5 times a day and goes to the mosque. And they claimed he was in the group Hizb ut-Tahrir, which is illegal in Russia. Although he was never part of that group. It doesn't even exist in Bakhchisaray. They didn't find anything in his home. They took my son, his passport, and his phone. He was in the detention center in Seperated for over 2 years. They lived in horrific conditions in the basement. There were 18 people and only 12 beds. They slept in shifts. The investigator took me in for questioning and read me the incrimination. I said, "Are you crazy? Do you even hear what you're saying? You're accusing him of attempting to seize power. You searched his home, searched everything. How did you take him from his home? Did you find tanks or artillery there, or automatic weapons? You took him barehanded. How could he seize power from you?" My son is a sportsman. In his youth, he did taekwondo. He won a lot of awards and medals. Later in Bakhchisaray, he studied building technology and worked in construction. Since he was a construction worker with a low salary, he began building private homes. People are building their own homes. They hire construction brigades. That's how he worked. 3 months ago, they were transferred to Rostov. There was a hearing scheduled in a month, and I said, "I'll go." My children said, "Mama, it's too much for you. It's 16 hours by car." I said, "No, I'll go. I must see my son." And I went. In court, they hold them behind bars. We saw each other like that, exchanged a few words. Despite the soldiers standing guard and their prohibitions, I still managed to grab his hand. When he saw me, he said, "Mama, what happened to you?" He said that because, since I last saw him, I had buried my husband. My son was not at the funeral. They didn't let him go, although we asked. I said, "Everything's okay. Everything's fine." And he says, "Mama, you've grown so thin." I say, "No, it's nothing. Everything's fine." And a piece of the glass divider was broken off, so we held each other's hands like that through the glass. But he seemed all right. Maybe he was trying to put on his best face for me, like I was for him, as if everything was okay. He was also trying to support me. "Mama, everything's fine. Don't worry." And we cheered each other up. I'm a child of the deportation. I was born in Uzbekistan, where my parents were sent. My parents died in exile. Up until their last breath, they spoke of their homeland, of their Crimea. We came here with the hope of living in our historic homeland. I do hope, God willing, that it will be that way, that we will keep living in our homeland.